Hey there everyone, it is Caslocles. And the Unsundered world is full of all kinds of Greek references, and none more than the Pandæmonium raid series. Today we're going to look at all those Greek references in the Pandæmonium Asphodelos raid series. I'm going to get rid of this. That was a lot of fun, but I don't think it'll work for the whole video. But like I said, we're going to look at the Pandæmonium Asphodelos raid series and look at some of the Greek references that are in there. Obviously, we've started to see with the Asians and their true names that they all were kind of Greek gods to an extent. And that kind of continues as we look through each of those references. So let's take a look. Alright, first off, let's start with our raid lead NPC. Themis. We obviously don't have voice acting, so we don't know the exact pronunciation there. But we are all pretty sure that this is our version of Elidibus. He's got the white hair that the Warrior of Light had in the 5.3 trial. And he seems to be on this secret mission from, I believe it's the Convocation. It's been a little while since I looked at the specific language in the intro quest. But looking at his Greek references, first, it's pretty clear that he's a gender swap version of Lady Justice, which is Themis in Greek mythology. This is usually what you see like outside courthouses, where you've got the blind lady with the scales of justice, that thought that justice is blind. That's all calling back to Themis. Ultimately, Themis' role in Greek mythology and with the other Greek gods is that Themis was tasked with calling the other gods to council, and was also served as a mark of civilized existence. So that kind of tends to flow into Elidibus' role on the Convocation, being that person that looks towards balance, and kind of a de facto kind of leader amongst the Convocation, especially as they are Asians, kind of in the current world. Next up, we move to the first boss of the raid tier, which is Erichthonius. In the raid story, he's described to be the son of Athena and Lahabrea. But in Greek mythology, he was the son of Athena, but also the son of Hephaestus. And in Greek mythology, the way he was born was Hephaestus was overcome with lust and forced himself upon Athena, ending up with his sperm hitting her thigh, and she wipes it away with a piece of wool or a piece of cotton and throws it to the earth. And when that hits the earth, it springs forth Erichthonius. Now, ultimately, Athena took Erichthonius under her protection, and then put him in a box and sent him to 3 princesses of, I believe it's Athens. It said that when they opened up the box, he was as a baby, was either coiled in a snake, or the bottom half of his body was a snake. I've tried to look for some of the references. His design in the fight is full of chains, so I tried to see if there were any kind of references throughout Greek mythology regarding chains and Erichthonius, and there's really nothing. So either A, those chains are just because in the story he's a warden of Pandæmonium, so he needs those chains to kind of lock up creatures there, or since they are kind of snake-like in how that they operate, chains in general, those chains may be references to those snakes from his mythological story. Now, the second boss of the raid tier is the Hippocampus. There's not much in Greek mythology on this. Generally, Hippocampus were seahorses, and they were the horses that Poseidon used when he would ride in on his chariot. And we can see that in the monster design. He's got definitely some real big hooves. He looks a little bit more, he doesn't look as horse-like on the upper part of his body as much as I think, but I can definitely see that they just, horse-like creature, water, and they didn't want to go the Kelpie route. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the third boss. It's clear that this is just an alternate spelling of Phoenix. All the same references as Phoenix, and Phoenix has been a reoccurring character in the Final Fantasy series to begin with. So a lot of that is found there. And there's also a great Tales from the Shadows that kind of talks about the creation of the Phoenix, including how it got a soul, which was a ancient soul that kind of, as it was traveling to the underworld, got trapped inside the Phoenix. Now on to the final boss of the raid tier, which is Hesperos. There's not much about him in Greek mythology. He's generally, it's just a translation for the evening star, and that's what they thought Venus was when they saw it in the evening. He's the counterpart to Phosperos, which was the morning star. Some people like to say, hey, he might be Lucifer because the evening star. There's not really that much about it in Greek mythology. More interesting thing is the creature that he's said to fuse with, the Verikolos. In Greek mythology, the Verikolos is most closely associated with being considered like a Greek vampire, although the creatures are much more zombie-like, don't have the real bat theme going on, and they're said to more eat flesh instead of drink blood. But that's where that reference comes from. So they obviously took the idea of Greek vampire and threw it into making him kind of Castlevania Dracula to an extent. But those are the major Greek references from this raid tier. But I do have some ideas of what we may see in the future. It kind of feels like they might be going for these Hemotheos, which is what Hesperos is in this, which is a demigod. They could go another kind of creature of the night, and we could see a werewolf for the boss of the next raid tier. There is some references already in the game. The wolves that we encounter in Elpis, the ones that Hermes has to put down, these are called Lycons, which was a Greek king that was associated with werewolves. It's where we get lycanthropy from. So we could see some other individual merging with a Lycos, or a Lycon, and becoming a werewolf-like creature. I've tried to think of who they could use. One idea I had could be Erebus, which is kind of the mate to Nyx, the goddess of the night. That could be a really cool reference. I actually think that the kind of major boss of the entire raid series could be Nyx, especially if we get more of these creatures of the night as our bosses throughout. The other boss that I could see us encountering is Nemesis, especially with Themis being our lead NPC. Nemesis is kind of the counterbalance, or the nemesis of Themis. So we could see Nemesis show up as a boss, maybe an NPC. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, Erichthonius' father in mythology was Hephaestus, and we know that his father in the game is La Habrea. So I expect us to learn that Hephaestus is La Habrea's true name, and we probably have some sort of encounter with him. Some background on Hephaestus: he's kind of like the blacksmith of the gods, really interested in forging weapons, and very associated with like volcanoes. In Roman mythology, he's known as Vulcan. Considering how complex his name is to all the other Greek names we've gotten, maybe we'll get the Romanized version of his name, so maybe we'll have Vulcan instead of Hephaestus, but only time will tell. But that's it for the Greek references for Pandæmonium Asphodelos. I would love to hear what you think in the comments below, especially your predictions for what we might see for future bosses or future characters. So be sure to leave those in the comments below. Otherwise, subscribe to this video. You'll see all my videos as they come out, which include more Final Fantasy XIV videos. Otherwise, there's links in the description below to my Twitch channel where give me a follow and know anytime I go live over there, as well as links to my social media and a link to my Discord channel. But with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.